All right, so lesson 1-8, the coordinate plane. So the kickoff here, what is an angle bisector? Well, an angle bisector is going to be a ray that divides an angle into two congruent coplanar angles. Its endpoint is the angle vertex. The ray also contains a segment with the same endpoints that the segment or ray bisects the angle. So what that's really saying is this. Anytime you have a bisector, it's going to split it into half. So in this case, being an angle bisector, it's going to split the angle into two halves, each half being congruent angles to each other. And it's going to go through the vertex. So it's going to be a ray. It'll be at the vertex where the two sides of the angle come together. We have a ray cutting through two congruent angles, angle bisector. So coordinate plane. This is our coordinate plane. So it's a grid of, it's going to use ordered pairs to locate points. So our x's go left and right, y's go up and down. So this is our x-axis, our y-axis. To the right is positive, to the left is negative on the x. Going up is the y is positive, going down the y is negative. The top right here is your first quadrant, and we go counterclockwise. So quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4. As you can see, the ordered pairs, we'd have both positive. Here the x is negative, y positive, both negative, or both positive on that one. Here the x is positive, the y is negative. So what we're going to use with that is we're going to use the distance formula. So really what we have here is the square root of the x's subtracted squared plus the y subtracted squared. Now, generally we list them as x2, y1, or y2, y1. But really it doesn't matter which way we put this because the square is going to take care of that. The main thing you have to keep in mind is you have to have the x's subtracted, have to have y subtracted. Don't mix x and y's up. So don't do an x minus a y and a y minus an x. Don't do that. Keep it to x's subtracted from each other, the y subtracted. So if we do one here, d equals the square root of. So I'm going to do it the one way, 5 minus a negative 4. And this will be squared plus, and then if I do it the other way of negative 1 minus 2. So 5 minus the negative 4, negative 1 minus 2. I'm going to show you order doesn't matter here, and I'm off the screen, sorry. So if we set this up, whether we do the first one, then the second, or the second, then the first, it's still going to be fine. Because 5 minus a negative 4 would really be like plusing 4, which is 9. And 9 squared is what we'll have here. Plus, and this is all under the square root. 1 minus 2 would be a negative 3, that's squared. And when you do that, either way, you're going to get a positive here of 9 squared is 81. Negative 3 squared would be a plus 9. And you get 90. So that square is going to, whether it's positive or negative, you're going to make it back positive so that it all works out. Now, this 90 is still under the square root, which, if you work it out, I believe is 9.5. So, you might be asking why the squigglies? Squigglies just means it's approximately because we've rounded this. It's not an exact answer. Exacts are equal. We're here approximate. We're rounding when we do it. So, on to the next one. So, each morning Juanita takes the subway from Oak Station at -1, -2, this would be on a map, to Jackson Station, which is at 2-4. So we're just identifying where these are at on a map. Find the distance Juanita travels to the nearest 10th. So again, we're finding distance formula. So d equals, under our square root, if we do our x's, we have -1 minus, I don't know why I put a comma there, minus 2 squared plus -2 minus 4 squared. So -1 minus 2 is -3. -3 squared would be 9. -2 minus 4 would be 6. 6 squared would be plus 36, which leads to the square root of 45, which is going to be about 6.7. So when you're doing this on the homework, go ahead and round to the nearest 10th on these. If you left it as a square root of 45, I would be fine with that. But if you're going to work it out to the nearest 10th. Next, we're going to get into the midpoint formula. Midpoint formula is similar, but here we're going to add the two x's and then divide by 2, and that'll give us our x coordinate of the midpoint. Add your y's, divide it by 2, and that'll give you the y coordinate of the midpoint. So if QS has endpoints of Q at 3, 5, and S at 7, -9, find the coordinates of the midpoint. So we're going to start with our x's. We have 3 and 7. So 3 plus 7 over 2. Then we're going to do our y's, 5 and negative 9. So 5 plus a negative 9 all over 2. So 3 plus 7 would be 10. 10 divided by 2 equals 5. So that's our x coordinate. 5 plus a negative 9 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 is a negative 2. And that is our y coordinate. So add your x's, divide by 2. Add your y's, divide by 2. And those are your x and your y. Lastly now, well, what happens if we have one endpoint and the midpoint, but not the other endpoint? Well, we still set it up using that same formula. We're going to go 3, 4 as our midpoint equals our x's added together. Well, our one x is negative 3. We don't know our other one, so we're going to leave it as an x, and that's all going to be over 2. The other one is our negative 2, plus we don't know our y, so we'll leave it as a y over 2. And from there, we're going to break this into two different equations from here. So we're going to take the x part, so negative 3 plus x over 2, and set it equal to our x of the midpoint. The other side of this, we're going to do the negative 2 plus y over 2, and set it equal to the y of our midpoint, which is 4. And then we solve just like an algebra problem from there. So we would times by 2 to cancel off the bottom. What we do to one side, we have to do the other. So 6 equals negative 3 plus x. So then we would add 3 to the other side. So x is going to equal 9. Over here, same thing. Take that by 2 to cancel. So we have to take the other side by 2. So negative 2 plus y equals 8. Add the 2 over. So y would equal 10. So our final answer, our point B, is then going to be 9, 10. That's how we would write that. So that is the lesson. Let me know if you have any questions. We'll talk to you later.